everybody! We're back at the table with Coco,
Shaka,
and Miss Blue.
And today we're going to be talking about when enough is enough in a relationship. When you need to let it go, when you need to find your own peace, your own happiness, and be out of the relationship. So I think we're going to first start off with Miss Blue. When do you think enough is enough?
Well, I think enough is enough when you feel like you are betraying yourself, when your happiness is gone.
Right.
Actually, I feel like enough is enough, like what I just said, when you betray yourself, but that first red flag, enough is enough, don't go no further.
Okay, let's unpack everything you just said. So what do you mean by betraying yourself?
Betraying yourself, when you feel like you are doing something, whatever somebody asks you, you're doing something in a relationship to make that person happy, but you're not happy with that decision, it makes you uncomfortable some type of way, that's betraying yourself. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Say like your man had a baby outside the relationship. Now, you know that makes you 100% uncomfortable.
Right.
That's enough.
That is enough. Okay, so you also said, enough is enough at the first red flag.
Right.
The very first one.
I don't think we do.
Yeah.
I don't think we do.
Why do you say it's enough at the first red flag?
Because that first red flag is God hit you upside your head like, do not enter this relationship. But we always ignore it and regret it.
Okay.
Well, Mom, let's turn it on to you. When do you think enough is
Miss
enough?
Blue gave me something to think about. I think enough is enough when you feel like you're walking on eggshells in your relationship.
Okay.
I think that when you get to the point where you don't have any peace in the relationship and you're changing how you behave, your character changes, and you slowly feel your happiness just kind of seep away little by little. And I think that when that happens, women start to compensate and start to try to, either they are mean at work, mean to their kids, they take it out on somebody else, but the reality of it is they're in a situation where they need to cut ties and get out of it. That's when
they take their energy, their unhappy energy out on other people in their lives.
I think so. They start to be, how they always try and say that we are angry black women. And sometimes that's true. And the reason that, no, it is. Sometimes it really is true. And the reason why, because one of the things, let me say this, that I always say is I never want to be an angry older black woman.
Right.
That I just can't be that. Some women actually are angry and they don't know how to process it, and they don't know how to deal with the source of the anger. And sometimes they're angry because they're in relationships that don't honor them. And instead of getting out of them, they have attitudes and they have to put that energy somewhere.
Right. Misdirected anger.
So, yes, misdirected anger. Sometimes it's inward.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you've met women that always got something wrong with them. my this, my that.
Yes.
I mean, constantly and consistently, always got something wrong with them. If you always sick, check out your surroundings. That's just
I like that.
Negative environments aren't good for anybody.
Right. Internalizing it.
I think enough is enough when ultimately you just aren't happy anymore. And I really want to touch on happiness because happiness is not complicated. You know when you're happy and you know when you're not happy. You know when you should know and you will know when you're happy in a relationship and when you're not. And if you're not and you're not happy for a long period of time, you just need to let it go.
Right.
It's not hard. It's not complicated. Don't make it work for yourself. Like, don't try to make it work. Don't try to make it happen because you want to be happy. You should be happy.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Blue, do you have an example of when you knew that enough was enough?
God, I can't do nothing but go back to my last relationship.
We know how we feel.
Yes,
about that.
I knew enough was enough because I felt like I was betraying myself.
Okay.
I felt so uneasy about the last situation that it was just time for me to go. it was absolutely time for me to go. When you feel like somebody's not honoring you anymore or making you a priority, and you know your worth, like women, you know your worth.
And if
it's
you
time to go.
don't know it, figure it out.
Right. Figure it out. Like she said, know your worth, and like they say, add tax.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's my example. I knew it was in me. I wasn't resting well. Like it wasn't resting in me. It was time for me to go. It was something. And because, you know, we have this thing that people try to put on us in our community, like ride or die chick.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have, that's
You
betraying
don't.
yourself.
You
do
gonna
not-
die either way, huh?
Period. That's the truth.
Right.
Oh,
You
that
don't
is
try
fair.
to be a ride or die chick. You don't have to be Bonnie and Clyde. You know.
Especially if you ain't got no real life Clyde.
Right. Find somebody who you're equally yoked with. That's what I would
That's
suggest.
a very good point.
Right.
'Cause people really glamorize the ride or die lifestyle.
Right.
Like, that's my chick forever.
And it's mostly the women who are the ones
Right. And
who
what
are
is the
riding
man
or dying.
offering?
Right.
You ride or die with him, and he
And
got
he-
4 other women that's riding or dying with him.
right. So, yeah, that's what I say about my situation. What about you?
Yeah, what about you?
You know, I have a tendency, in all honesty, to stay in relationships too long. I think that I am loyal to a fault. And my one example of definitely staying in a relationship too long was when I was in counseling about my divorce. I knew that my marriage had come to a point that this wasn't the relationship for me.
Okay.
And we were in counseling, and and the counselor just could see it. He could feel it. He said my energy said I had checked out, you know. And so he said to me, "Why are you in this marriage?" And I said, "I'm in the marriage because of my children." And he said to me, "Your children will never, ever appreciate that." And it resonated with me. I drove home and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And what I knew for myself was that having been born in poverty and being raised in the projects and having a single mother and having aunts that were single, I had in my subconscious associated being single with poverty. And even though at that time I made more money than my husband, and I knew I wasn't impoverished at all, it was in my subconscious. And that I didn't want to raise my children that way. And so I stayed in the relationship longer than I should. And so I think that women have numerous reasons of why they do that. And I think financial reasons is one, but I also think wanting our children to be in a two-parent home is a big deal for some of us.
That's
I think
true.
that's a good point, because as her daughter, I can tell y'all I would not have appreciated it if her and my father stayed together. I don't think that would have been good for her, me, my brother, or my father in the long run.
Right.
And so that
Not
is
for your
something-
sanity.
No, not for your sanity, not for your mental health, not for anyone involved. So.
So think about that, moms and dads.
You want to do it?
No, you close it out with that.
Oh, I
one, 'cause
should
that was yours.
did my shirt
You
like
know,
this.
yeah.
Look at this. I was looking all big in my shirt. Like that. Okay.
It's okay. All right, as we close up this video, you guys, we just want to remind you on the topic about enough is enough. Know your happiness, know your worth. Remember, happiness is not complicated. Happiness is not a struggle. It should not be a struggle. Always find your happiness and protect it. And if it's not in that relationship, let it go.
Let it go.
All right.
Okay, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, turn the post notifications on. And remember, she said it.
She said
She
it.
said it. Thank y'all for watching.